What's up, world? It's Joe Cool. After just completing the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, finally defeating Ganondorf, seeing the end, and still having so many questions, I was compelled to make this video. I've been noticing all over people asking the same question over and over and over again. Where is the Triforce? And ladies and gentlemen, I believe I have figured it out. Not only have I figured out where the Triforce has been since Breath of the Wild, but I also believe I know where Nintendo and the creators of Legend of Zelda are going with the next game. So, I ask you all to sit back and enjoy this presentation. Took a lot of hard work, but we here. While you're here though, like, subscribe, comment, share, tell a friend. I'm just starting my YouTube journey, as you can see, and all the help is appreciated. Now, for what you guys came here for. Where is the Triforce? I'm gonna start the video off just by telling y'all, the Triforce has been in the game since Breath of the Wild. If you remember, at the very end when you're fighting Calamity Ganon, the Triforce appears over Zelda's hands. Not only that, when you see Zelda holding the sword in Tears of the Kingdom, it's on her hand again. So, just to sum it up, the Triforce has been there since the beginning. That was the power that Zelda used in order to trap Calamity Ganon 100 years before the start of Breath of the Wild. Now here's where things get a little bit wonky, tricky, right? If you completed all of the memories or whatever in Breath of the Wild, you get a secret cutscene at the end where Zelda and Link talk about rebuilding Hyrule. And she says over time that her goddess powers, or her powers that she was blessed with, I call them goddess powers because that's what they are. Anywho, the light powers that she was blessed with have started to dwindle and not as strong. That's the start of it. Now we have to look at history in other Zelda games to explain this. In previous Zelda games, it was the spirit of light, Rauru, who sealed Ganondorf. And Zelda was able to do it before she went back into time. So it's safe to say that Zelda possesses the power of light. And the secret stone she got was of time. In the game, in some of the tiers, you will notice that they associate light with wisdom, and wisdom is one of the 3 Triforces. And although it's not said, it is greatly hinted at that Zelda is a descendant from Rauru and Sonia. Sonia possessing time, Rauru possessing light. Boom. And in the story of the Triforce, it is said that when one takes away a piece and does not have equal of all 3 balance, it will throw the world into darkness and turmoil. In Ocarina of Time, when Ganon gets it, that's why the world is transformed into darkness. Not only the world is thrown into darkness, but the spirit realm where the Triforce is held is thrown into darkness as well. I'm theorizing that the shrines that you go into in both Breath of the Wild, which are Sheikah shrines, and the shrines you go into in Tears of the Kingdom, which are Zonai shrines, each go to the spirit realm or spirit dimension or spirit plane, go into another dimension, to say the least. And also, I have to preface and I have to say that a lot of this is theory from just going back and understanding and reading the history and understanding that the developers of this game said that this game takes place at the end of the Zelda timeline as we knew it, what Breath of the Wild did. I also have to take into account that they hint at, mention, and drop Easter eggs of other games in this game as well. And when you think about it, right? And let me just go on my little tangent and rant real quick. I see a lot of people saying that the timeline doesn't make sense now since Zelda went back into the past. It makes complete and perfect sense now. And I don't see how anybody else is missing this. I don't even like this song. Let me... I don't see how anybody is not seeing this. Zelda goes back in time 10,000 years or 1,000 years. However long it is, it's up there, right? Breath of the Wild says that the Sheikah technology was made around that same time. And these were created to not stop Ganondorf, but Calamity Ganon. I mean, in Breath of the Wild, they say that they went and dug up this ancient technology, which was far more advanced than theirs. So, my theory is that when Zelda went back into the past, she did not just set up things for Tears of the Kingdom to play out. She set up things for the entire history of Zelda games to play out, by letting people know that Link would be the one to do all of this. So Zelda goes back into the past with all of the knowledge that she has up to now. She goes back into the past. This is the very first king of Hyrule. That means that the Hylians weren't fully developed yet, as you can see when looking at Sonya. They crossbred with the Zonai at that. That's what gave the descendants from the royal family these powers. Zelda probably started up the Sheikah clan because they get their eye from Rauru. Now, the tear comes along when the royal family banishes and turns their back on the Sheikah people for a minute, and that's where the whole like Yiga clan comes from and all that. That's further down the line. But the Sheikah people were started by Zelda. They knew she was quote unquote a goddess because she came from the future and turns into a dragon. Zelda single-handedly started all of this. Legendary warrior Link, hero of time. Okay, so cool. That's why so many princesses were named Zelda. It's the reason why we have so many Queen Elizabeths. I mean, it's stuff royal people do. Zelda knowing all she knows in the future is the main reason why a lot of things go as they do. That's probably why the castle was built over mummified Ganondorf. That's probably why in every game, all of the people come and help. The Zoras, the Gerudo, and so on and so forth. The Sheikah clan created technology with the Zonai. That's how we got ancient tech. They would get ready for something that somebody from the future said was going to happen. Zelda, not knowing how far back she's in the past, doesn't know exactly when it'll happen, so they're prepared for when it actually does happen. These people dedicate their lives to the royal family. And of course, there will be some who rebel against that ideology after so long, and that's how you get the Yiga clan. Were banished, or the royal people turned their back on them. They added the tier to it, but they still remain loyal to them. They had the eye for truth because they knew the truth, because they got the truth from Princess Zelda from the future. They deified her as a goddess after she turned into a dragon, and there's really good reasons for that. The 3 dragons we see flying through the sky are the 3 goddesses. Just look at the beginning of their names. I mean, that is the most obvious thing ever in the game. The goddess Din is the goddess of power. The goddess Nehru is the goddess of wisdom. The goddess Farori, I don't know how to say that one, excuse me, is the goddess of courage. Now, think to what the names of the dragons are. Dinra, Farosh, Nadra. The first 3 letters of the goddesses and the first 3 letters of the dragons are the same. I mean, just throwing that out there. We don't see any dragons when Zelda goes back into the past. Just her. Could it be that the Sheik saw her turn into a dragon and fly above the clouds with this magical sword that she possessed, the goddess's sword, and they thought she might have been a goddess because they said the Zonai people came down and they were revered as gods as well. If she has the power of gods, just putting 2 and 2 together, people, follow me, come on. After seeing their goddess with a sword, and knowing it's the sword that is going to destroy Ganon, these people probably created their own sword, just like in Skyward Sword. It's the goddess sword, even though it's the master sword. Now that would solve the problem of there being 2 master swords in the timeline. The master sword is this all-powerful sword that's supposed to destroy and contain evil, and yet it was broken at the beginning of the game, Tears of the Kingdom. Could it be that up to then it had only been the goddess sword, and once Zelda infused it with all that sacred power, it became the master sword? None of this is facts, by the way, people. This is just my speculation. I'm taken from Skyward Sword because throughout the games, Zelda talks to and hears the sword talk to her. And only game that has that in is Skyward Sword with Fi. And Fi was appointed by the goddess. We know it's possible for Zonai at least to possess objects with Minoru and the Sheikah device. So who's to say that it did not happen with the Master Sword as well? It went back there and became the dragon. They made the sword and infused it with the god powers, quote unquote. And it took coming back in time, being infused with sacred power for it to become the real Master Sword. This would explain why there are 2 Master Swords up until the point when you send it back in time. Because at that point, the sword is ready. Because you're ready to go on your adventure. Now, I said at the beginning of the video that the Triforce has been here the entire time. And I believe, I know, or theorize, where the next game is going. Now this is where things get a little bit more juicy, right? So, spoilers ahead for anyone who hasn't beat the game. Let me give you a couple of seconds. They all gone? Okay, cool. So, as you know, at the end of the game, you defeat mummified Ganondorf. Finally defeat him. Cool. Zelda comes back after you, Sonia, and Rauru push your hands forward in some sacred realm you guys are in before being transported back to Hyrule and falling from the sky. And that's when I knew the Triforce was in the game. Link represents courage, Sonia represents wisdom, and Rauru represents power. When they take back the hand and give Link back his regular hand, they put the Triforce of Courage back with them. Now, the next game, I believe they're going to bring in Demise. And this will start up a new continuing timeline of The Legend of Zelda. Now hear me out. Like I said, this is all a lot of speculation, but in the first game, you go back collecting your memories. You forget who you are. In turn, you're gaining your courage to go back and fight Calamity Ganon. Think back to Breath of the Wild. In that game, you wake up with amnesia, and you go about getting your memories and gaining the courage, the comrades and the allies, to go back and fight Calamity Ganon once more. This game has a deep knowledge of Zelda lore, games, and history. It brings back and redesigns some old bosses and foes you fought before. It goes and tweaks the timeline and the history a little bit more. And this game is based upon Zelda. The first game was based upon Link, courage. The second game based upon Zelda, wisdom. The third game will be about Demise, power. Now you have all three pieces of the Triforce. The story of Demise comes from him rising from underground, from the depths, so to say, to Hyrule to take over and get the piece of the Triforce. That's why I was so excited when they brought in the depths. That's why I was so excited when they said the Yiga clan dwelled in the depths. It all makes sense now. This isn't one contained story. This is a long story being told out. This is the start of this continualization of The Legend of Zelda and the retelling of all of its stories. Just like history in our world, sometimes it gets revised and rewritten. And that's what I believe is going on right now. That's one theory. The second theory is you're going to be more time-based. Because the Temple of Time is where you go to get to the Sacred Realm to get the Triforce. And the Temple of Time hasn't had that much importance in this game. In fact, we didn't even pull the Master Sword out of the Temple of Time. We got it in the Lost Woods. And has anybody ever noticed that there is no story to how they got the Master Sword in Breath of the Wild? Yeah, we go back and get it from the Lost Woods because Zelda put it there for it to get some sacred energy. But before that, how did Link prove himself? How did he gain the Master Sword? We're not asking the right questions, people. So if the next game is about time travel, it will be about that. And also, I believe they will finally bring back in the aspect of music, because we've had breath, which is the mouth. We've had tears, which is the eyes. Now we need songs and music, which is the ears. This is the face of the Zelda franchise now. This is where we're going from here on. I might be reaching for straws, might be imagining, dreaming, but I think I'm following the breadcrumbs correctly. This is just my first video on this theory. Depending on how many likes, shares, comments I get, how it's received, we might dive deeper into this, and I might go ahead and start showing you the symbolism. Because I know I'm not the only person that finds it awfully weird that the Triforce is everywhere but never spoken upon. Sonya has tattoos of the Triforce and of the eye without the tear. It's right in our face, people. And I believe the next game, which will be focused more on power, will dive deeper into why the Triforce is there, the story of the Triforce, how the Yiga clan became, and Demise's rise. Anywho, I'm about to go play Breath of the Wild once again, and then after I beat that, start over Tears of the Kingdom. Stay tuned. I'm going to finish the shrines, of course. I'm going to give you the caves and the wells, have the Pokemon Master Challenge going on, and a couple of more videos like this in store for you as well. I do appreciate you taking the time to sit back and listen to me theorize about this. If you have anything to add, please put it in the comments. Let's really dive into this. Let's shake the internet up with this one. Let's get Nintendo like on their heels, like, oh, they're paying attention, because we're paying attention and we're going to figure this out. The Triforce is a staple of the Legend of Zelda, and for it not to be mentioned in 2 games, it's calling out that it needs to be heard, seen, or dropped in some kind of fashion to us. For all we know, it could be in a DLC. And also, we need a new design for Sheik. Like, we keep seeing Zelda show her powers, but Impa's the one who trained her to be Sheik. We have Impa, a staple of The Legend of Zelda as well. She's been in dang near like every game that talks about the Spirit of Shadow, the Temple of Shadows and Temple of Light. So if she's the one who trains Zelda in Ocarina of Time, she should be the one who trains her this time. I'm speculating right now. I'm just theorizing. This is my little rant at the end of the video. But that's all a theory. A cool theory. Thanks for watching.